So my name is Tristan. I'm 24 years old from Papineau First Nation, and I also go under the name WolfCastle, professional. Because I'm a rapper, producer, singer, performer. That's what I do.
Elevated from a cold place, I'm a hustler, baby, all day. Rest out till it's old age. Ice up on my baby brain, explosives, trap, it's all the same. Don't resist, can't collect. Drag us through the internet. Posted this silent, eject infection. It's wrestling, resting, tone texting. I'm
So
driving.
yeah, I grew up in Papineau First Nation, but also Bathurst, New Brunswick, because Papineau is so small. There's no school system. There's no separate thing, right? So I, commute here and there, and I started going to South Bathurst Elementary School, which doesn't exist anymore, but that's where I, started going to school, and I was just a regular kid, whatever, just hanging out with friends and playing games and watching a lot of TV. Nothing too special, just regular child, and when I was, 6 years old, my uncle Raymond Sewell, he started making rap music as Red Sugar, and he was 20 years old, I think, and he used to babysit me when we were kids. So, like, those are some of my earliest memories. It's just hanging out with Raymond, and he wasn't that much older, right? He wasn't like a 50-year-old uncle. He was a 19-year-old uncle. So we did all sorts of wild things. And he became a rapper, and it was amazing to just watch that. I remember he went so far as to get on Much Music, and he went on this big trip to Toronto to play at this Indigenous music festival. And he brought all of us to that show. My mom, my grandparents, my brother, my sister, aunts, you name it. We all went to Toronto, and I think I was 6 years old at the time. And that was probably one of the earliest moments in my life where I could say it's not a shock I went into music from being in this small community, on the reserve, or even in Bathurst, New Brunswick, and then go to the big city of Toronto, go to the CN Tower, see the buildings, and then there's my family on stage in the Sky Dome performing, and then we all just go back home. We're back here. Like, wow. What an experience, right? So that's got to be one of the first things that made me at least interested in being a performer, maybe not even necessarily a musician, but I saw that my family was always doing cool things. If my uncle was making music, my mother was also making music or putting out films with the National Film Board of Canada. You name it, everybody was doing cool stuff. And my grandfather, he was telling stories and going into schools and educating. So I had a lot of very good role models to look up to growing up. And it's not a shock I ended up becoming a musician, because once I got a little bit older, I finally was able to, start figuring out who I was and what I wanted to do in life. And that's when I just started getting obsessed with music and realizing, hey, maybe I could take a crack at it as well.
Ice up on my baby brain, explosives, trap, it's all the same. Don't resist, can't collect. Drag us through the internet. Posted this silent, eject infection. It's wrestling, resting, tone texting. I'm driving, I'm fessing, vicious.
So every holiday season was like a huge party. It was fantastic. Like, everybody's cracking jokes. Everybody's trying to be the funniest person in the room, and there's good food, and as a kid there's lots of gifts, and that's great. And my family used to always just sit around all night and play guitar, play the drums, sing songs, things like that. And I remember just, I have so many good memories of just experiencing that, just family together all night long, just right into midnight and longer sometimes, just singing and joking and having a good time. And I'm just running around with my brother and my sister and my little cousins and just, playing with toys or whatever. And when I got a little bit older, that kept going. And I remember just wanting to be part of that, like singing and playing guitar and drumming and singing songs. And I didn't have any musical skills, and I was also way too shy at a certain point to take part in that. But I just wanted that so bad, there was always music going on or some sort of entertainment happening. And when I started making my own music, I actually got brave enough to kind of go out of my shell a little bit. And I told my Uncle Raymond, who was getting back into rap music after quite a hiatus, that I was making songs again. I was recording songs in my bedroom, just kind of like secretly for some reason, because I was too shy. And he had a microphone and a little mixer and music equipment. And he came home for the holidays, set it all up in one of the back rooms of my grandparents' house. And me and my little cousin River, we went back there and he was like, hey, you want to make a song? And I said, sure, that sounds great, and he walked me through the whole process, and we made this just random song in a couple hours and recorded it. And he like kind of put it together all on the computer in the back room. And then once it was finished, we just listened to it over and over again, just like having a great time and going over lines that we said that were really funny and just listening to it. And that experience of making music was always so connected to family. And I don't know if I would have gotten into it as easily had that not been the case. And so for many years after that moment, from 15 years old right into my early 20s, every holiday season, whenever my uncle would come, I would go over to my grandparents' house. My cousin would, Chris would sometimes too, my brother Chris. And we would just all go in the basement or in the kitchen, set up a mic. We hung it from a chandelier one time. We used books as like booths to cancel out sound. And we would be up till 7 a.m. a lot of the time, just making song after song after song. Some nights, if it was a good night, we'd make 3 or we'd make 1. And then what we would do is just sit there and make a new track and listen to it nonstop, just sit there for a couple hours writing, and then we would record it, and then we would drive around Bathurst and just listen to what we had just made and be like, yeah, and there'd be like a line or something that would be kind of funny, and we would just all crack up once we got to that line, and those are just such good memories. And what was really great about that was it was such a low stakes environment to learn how to make music. And we weren't trying to be the best musicians in the world. We were just having fun. So there was no real pressure to be perfect or like amazing at anything. And I think that really taught me a good lesson on how to just make music, because that's how I learned, instead of really like obsessing over making one note sound perfect or this part be the best part or whatever, right? We were just having fun. And then, we'd come back from the driving sessions and maybe make another song. I'd go to bed at 7 a.m. and wake up at like 11 or something like that. And shout out my grandparents for not really minding the immense noise that would happen all night. Poor them. But yeah, that's kind of what the holidays were like. And I'll always kind of put the two together in my mind. The holiday season is just is one of the best times for my own inspiration, probably because of those memories.
Blood runs through my veins, elevating from a cold place. I'm a hustler, baby, all day. Rest down till it's old age. Yeah, I got malice, yeah, I got talent. Rest Pope giving you the challenge. Yo, falling in my mind, call me Alice. Cowboy with a 6-shot, call me Dallas. Whoa, tactical red dot, ready for a high noon. Sun's pulling up, I'm on guard in a costume. What's truth? Did a demon speaking evil? Flip a cover, change up, they're never gonna see you. I'ma go out like pop, I'ma go out like glide.
I had always been super passionate about music from teenage years on, and when I was in high school I was at my grandparents' making songs and driving around and doing all that, and I did do it afterwards as well. But once I finished high school, I thought, okay, I guess I'm going to go to university now, because I didn't really have any direction on what I wanted to do with my life. I knew that I liked music, but I wasn't sure how to pursue a career, especially as a 18-year-old kid. I don't know where to go. So I went to school. I decided to study at Mount Allison University, which is in Sackville, New Brunswick, and I was going to take a 4-year Bachelor of Arts studies. I was going to do that. And I didn't even know what I was going to major in when I walked through those doors for the first time. I just was like, all right, I'm in university. And I really mostly wanted to get out of my hometown and just like try new things and meet new people and figure out who I was even more, because a lot of my life, I spent just in the same place. So it was a really exciting opportunity to go out and study and figure out what kind of a life do I want for myself. So once I get to university, I still have this dream of being a musician, but I just still don't know how to make it real. But while I'm there, I am studying all sorts of things like history and science, and I was doing plays and theater like that and things like that, and even studying like religious studies, and just, you know, anything I could think of that I just felt like there were so many things I wanted to know more about. So I really took advantage of that opportunity to take all these different courses and learn all these different things. But in my first year of university, I ended up, just as an extracurricular thing, working on a play as an actor. And I did that for the second half of my first year, and I did this play and we did a couple shows, and I had a really good experience. So I decided, okay, I do want to be a musician. I do want to pursue that, but I also really want to get my degree first, because I still don't really know what I would do if I was just not in school. So I decided, okay, if I'm going to survive university, I'm going to study something that I'm at least interested in. And so I picked theater. And the reason I didn't pick music, because I am a musician, so you'd think that's what I would have done, is because I didn't have any formal training musically. Like, there's no way I would have passed any of the auditions or the tests at all. There's no way. So I thought, okay, can't do that. So I'm going to take theater, because at least that's a lot of fun. It turned out it was a lot of work too, which I was not expecting. But it was really, really good for me, especially as a performer. It really helped me figure out who I wanted to be on stage later when I started doing shows. So I'm in school studying, and I'm still chugging away at music. And I've made like 2 albums that I just finished and put out, which is, to me, like, that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to make music so bad that I wasn't even thinking about if anybody would hear it or marketing or anything like that. I just had this like dream. I wanted to just put music out. So I was putting music out, and I didn't realize or understand how to perform at bars or clubs or things like that. I didn't know how to do that. And plus, at this point, I was underage for, you know, all my life. I couldn't get into bars and things like that to do open mics. I had done a couple of small things in Bathurst, and I did a sort of coffee house in university, but not much performance experience. But I had been putting these albums out, and my mom actually encouraged me to apply for East Coast Music Award nominations, because it's just a big publicity thing. It's a big deal. It's an amazing opportunity, and you get a lot of chances to connect and actually get into the music industry, which is something that I didn't really understand at the time, but she was encouraging me to do it. So I applied, not really expecting anything. And I remember one day I was putting out some music, and I was kind of feeling down about my career. Well, because there was no career. And I was at a point where I was thinking, you know, I was sitting with my sister at Tim Hortons talking about this, saying, I don't know about this. Like, I don't know how to do gigs or get out there and actually make something of myself. So I was considering like maybe just keeping it a hobby and moving on and figuring something out. And I went home to my apartment, and I opened my computer, and I got nominated for an award, for an East Coast Music Award. And I went, what? It blew my mind, like, because I just was throwing it out there in the world, just applying whatever, who knows what happens, right? And I was at this point, this critical point, where I was actually thinking of giving up. And then the world went, no, you're not. You are not giving up. And that gave me so much confidence and such a boost to get that nomination for Indigenous Artist of the Year. For one of my records I'd put out, because, you know, I wasn't performing that much. I didn't know what to do. I didn't have any direction. And suddenly this opportunity showed up, and boy, did I take it. So I went to Sydney, Cape Breton. That's where they were being held. And it was a conference too. So I went there. I had a chance to do an hour-long show of just my music. Luckily, I had that much music out. And I had a chance to meet industry professionals and do interviews and make connections. And that was how I actually got in the industry, just from that opportunity.
I have another Mi'kmaq word for you. Winpegajawik, roughly flowing waters. It's my story, my life.
WolfCastle, Ilnu from Papineau First Nation. And this is my set right here. Down and know. Shut your flap. Grip like the water bottle with no cap. Real talk. Witches in the back still cackling. TikTok time unraveling.
I got this award nomination. I'm 19 years old. I was just about to quit. This was in 2016. And it totally just gave me a new life. Like, I felt like I had made it. Like, I might as well have gotten a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. Because for me, I wanted to make music so bad, and I was always so frustrated when I was younger that I didn't know how to play music or rap or do anything, that to even get any sort of recognition at all was, you know, it meant the world to me. Because before I was performing and making music, I would dream about it. I would pretend, I would, you know, want it so bad. So I just worked for it, and it felt good to get that nomination, because then I was, you know, talking on radio stations and I was getting all this attention, and it was really validating because it gave me a lot of confidence in myself, you know, to think that I was actually capable of making it and doing something. So that nomination comes, I go to the East Coast Music Awards, I do my show, it goes really well. And I learn a lot more about what I want to do as a performer, because a lot of my songs I had written just kind of alone in my room. I didn't understand how to like write songs that maybe would make an audience go wild, or how to even talk to an audience. And so the next phase of my career was figuring out what kind of a performer do I want to be, and how do I actually do shows that are engaging, and how do I make that happen. So I stayed in university. I actually didn't drop out. I wanted to really get my degree because I had a whole life in Sackville at Mount Allison that I just didn't want to give up either. And I loved my professors, I loved my friends, I loved everything I was learning. So I decided to stick with school and balance the two worlds of being like a rapper guy and a student. Which was great for me because I think it just gave me a lot of fuel for all the new stuff I was learning, and that influenced the writing. So for the next couple of years, I just kind of started, you know, riding off the initial attention of that nomination, and I would get offers to play at cultural festivals or conferences and things like that. And my Uncle Raymond, who I'd been making music with at my grandparents' house, he was around as a rapper to come with me on these shows, and he taught me how to actually perform also, because he was a very experienced performer at this point in time. So he was a really great mentor of mine that not only taught me how to make music, but how to actually engage with crowds and make shows that are really memorable. So he was with me every step of the way of my early career. And for the next couple of years, I played festivals like Halifax Jazz Fest, Halifax Pop Explosion, Festival 506. I kind of played everywhere in the Atlantic provinces, basically, from Moncton to Fredericton to Halifax, just everywhere. And I got so much experience from doing that, and that's when I really started gritting my teeth in the industry, because through these conferences, through these shows I was doing, I was meeting industry people along the way, and just building those connections, and always sort of, you know, working on the music side of things and what I wanted to do. And then I graduated university, and I thought, okay, well, you're done university now. There's no more cushion, so it's game time, buddy. You gotta make a career happen. So I thought, okay, now the ball's in my court. If I don't make it, it's my own fault. And I thought, what is the best thing for me to do if I want to actually have a career in this? And I thought, learn the business side of things. Because I had already proven to myself I could do shows, I could make songs, I could make albums. So I wanted to actually understand how to run it as a business, not because I only believe in numbers, but because it's important to know where your money is. It's important to know how to actually make a career happen that's sustainable. So I didn't want it to be a side gig forever. So I decided to actually go to college after university, and I studied for 1 year at Nova Scotia Community College in Halifax, and I studied music business, specifically business in the music industry. And there was no music classes for that whole year, nothing like that. It was all just industry stuff. So not only was it a great networking opportunity, but it gave me the tools to actually approach my music from a standpoint that it would actually sustain itself and have longevity. And that was one of the best moves I ever made, because everything paid off from just going to that place. And I made so many good friends and so many good connections. And it was just invaluable, the stuff I was being taught in that program. It was wonderful. So I graduated from that, and I kept making music, and I actually did an internship at a record label in Halifax called Forward Music Group. And through that internship, I would just work on behind the scenes stuff with the record label. And at the same time, I'm doing shows and things like that, and I'm putting music out. And the guy who runs the label is a good friend of mine now, Kyle. He said, hey, if you're putting music out, like, you should put it out through our label. Since you're doing all this work for us, why not? Like, he's such a nice guy. So I started putting music out through his label, and some of that stuff got on really big Spotify playlists, and I was sending things out to radio stations. And there's this thing called the Indigenous Music Countdown, which is like a national radio program that's also on Sirius XM, and I started putting my songs all over there. And one of them actually got into that Indigenous Countdown, the charts, the song I made called Cha Cha. And then I was being played on CBC every now and then, and talking and just really grinding, just nonstop working on things. And eventually I was talking with Kyle at the label, and he said, hey, do you want me to sign you as an artist, and we can work even more on your stuff? So I got a record deal just from working and talking and just, you know, continuing to work on this stuff and really focus. So I got a record deal, I got a bunch of radio play, and I just, you know, the years of work started just falling and coming together and created a sort of stable framework where I can continue to work on my music and continue striving towards bigger and bigger goals. Because I always set goals for myself. Even from the, you know, when I was super young, I had initial goals I wanted to set, and they were realistic goals, because I didn't want to be over the top and over dramatic and say I want to be the biggest star in the world. I wasn't sure if I could do that, but at least I could prove to myself I could make one song. So when I did that goal, I made more and more goals. And then once I achieved those goals, I go, well, I still want to keep going, so I guess I got to learn more. And so it's a mixture of being really passionate about the music and also being really passionate about wanting to survive as an artist in today's world and doing whatever I can to do that, because music is so great for my soul and I connect with people. It's given me so much self-confidence and so much growth for me. And I've traveled and met so many interesting people because of it. And yeah, I'm just grateful, because all of that good stuff came from just having that initial dream right here, because we're filming at my house. So all those dreams started right here, and now I'm back again talking about them, and it feels fantastic. And I won 2 awards not too long ago, which is awesome, because I got nominated for the pre-MNB Awards, which are Music New Brunswick Awards, for Indigenous Artist of the Year and Album of the Year, and I got both.
Supersonic, got me flying on the front lines. Emulator, bringing back the aura when I'm online. She said, bring that gold, bring that mode, break that mold. Quarantine season, rewiring all the code. Tokyo drift, candy paint on the go. Expert level finesse, it's no stress. Making hits since LMFAO said yes. It's a long time coming, but it finally came. Rich native man going hard in the paint. Need a canvas, make a pie like in a Francis. Got an attitude.
But if you're really passionate and you're really focused, really just keep going at it, because you can get somewhere with it. Because trust me, there have been lots of times I wanted to quit and there were lots of tough times, but I always stuck it out. So seriously, stick it out and stick to the music and be passionate about it, and make sure you're doing it for those reasons, and I think you will be successful no matter what. So keep that in mind. I know it's tough out there if you're a musician, I know, or an artist. So if you want to find me again, my name is Tristan Grant, but I'm also WolfCastle, first in the battle, rapping since before I had an Adam's apple. And you can find me on pretty much any streaming service you want, like, you know, YouTube, Spotify, everything like that. Just search up WolfCastle. And online, it's on Instagram, it's Real WolfCastle. Twitter, it's Real WolfCastle. And those are kind of where I'm most active. So you can look me up, just Google it, and I'm sure you can find it. So thank you very much.
Another Mi'kmaq word for you today is Eskedegamuchwe Auti, the Milky Way. It's my story, my life.